Here we are in a remote studio, and we are in the great state of Florida, and going to be joined in just moments by the one and only Viva Frei, who lives down here. You can follow him at Viva Frei, F-R-E-I. He will join us. We're going to talk, amongst other things, about the arrest of the Telegram CEO in France. We'll talk about Zuckerberg's letter to Congress. Viva has got it. He's got a, before the show started, I spilled Coca-Cola on a major piece of sound equipment, so that's why we're running a little late, and it's made Viva nervous, and he's got questions about anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder, apparently. We'll get into that and more. Don't go away. Be right back.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopath started this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Joint muscle pains are exhausting and frustrating, but I've got a over-the-counter medication I'll introduce you to that provides great relief using the power of, check it out, chili peppers. Capsiden is made with a proprietary formula that contains no non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, no opioids, no anesthetic or steroid, nothing, no chance for addiction, no side effects, no chance it's going to interact with other medication you might be taking. Capsiden contains capsaicin, which is the substance in chili peppers that burns your tongue. That gives you that burny feeling. And of course, I've recommended capsaicin creams to patients over the years, but other capsaicin creams burn your skin. That's what makes Capsiden so unique. In clinical trials, Capsiden has actually been demonstrated not to burn.
I've been using Capsiden to relieve my pain in my hands and my wrist from carpal tunnel syndrome and arthritis. The results have been amazing. I use it every day during my show, and I highly recommend it.
Get the pain relief you need from various sources, even backache, sprains, bruises even. Order now at capsiden.com/Drew to get a 15% discount plus free shipping. That is CAPSADYN, capsiden.com/DREW. Oh, we are back with the great Viva Frei. Before we bring in Viva, thank you for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
I want to do a quick update on the upcoming guests. We've got Ivor Cummins making a, have you talked to him before? He's a great guy.
No.
So interesting. We have Salty Cracker coming in here on Thursday. The salt must flow.
Salty's going to be in Florida.
With us in Zooming in. You know, I don't know where he resides. I think it's a secret.
I don't know, but if he's coming this close to my place, he's got to come over for dinner.
All right, we'll set that up one day. Joel Pollack's coming in. Jimmy Dore, my old friend Mike Catherwood's coming back. There's the lineup there. Dr. Marty Makary is coming in with Brian Hooker. It should be interesting with reading his book. And so we'll be here for all of that. We'll be back at full swing next week. But we're in Florida, in the great state, in your home territory here. And it's, I love coming to Florida because everyone's happy. It's so different than California.
It's amazing. When I came back down after the summer in Canada, and you get here, people are happy, and I asked somebody, and he's like, we live where people come to vacation. It can't get much better.
It's not just that. There is dynamism. Young people are working. People are building. They're interested in starting business. I mean, this stuff is happening. And people go out and gather. Like of all ages, you know what I mean? It's like it's just happening here.
People are happy. They smile. Miami is a bit more intense. I drove down there.
Yeah, that's intense. Yeah,
I drove down there with our car, which doesn't clear into most garages.
Right.
And then street parking was at a valet was $100, and I was like, this is like New York. It has a little bit more life, but it's like New York.
It's different. It's different. But you can also see Viva on Rumble and Locals. He of course has the legal podcast Viva and Barnes Live. That's vivabarnes.locals.com. You can follow Viva on X at the Viva Frei, VIVAFREI, and vivafrei.com. His real name is David Freiheit. You said you're Eastern European. That sounds German.
Eastern European. My granddad was Polish. His name was Freiheiter, or his family's. Born in Austria. And then when he fled, they dropped the ER, so it became Freiheit. Freiheiter, from what I understood, means freedom fighter. And I guess he fled for freedom, so he had to drop the ER.
I was having a conversation with that guy over the other side of the room about Eastern Europe and Russia and how we in the United States don't appreciate how much the Second World War is still affecting the minds and bodies of people, particularly in Russia. I mean, the siege of St. Petersburg, they've not gotten over. And so when you start moving, I'm jumping into a topic I didn't expect to get into here, but when you start moving NATO forces towards Russia, it's not just a pragmatic issue to them. The mystic chords of their history get wrung quickly.
So I lived in Paris in 1999 to 2000 when I studied philosophy. And
where did you study?
At La Sorbonne,
Oh,
Paris 4. It was very nice, and I wrote all my exams in French.
Please not the post-structuralist.
No, well, I didn't. Some of it, I did better on the ethical stuff. The Germanic philosophy.
So Kant and not Michel Foucault.
No, I did not do Foucault.
Thank you.
No, I did Kant, or I studied Kant, I should say, and very difficult. But
and by the way, just to Marx, Kant's first principle, right? His universal truth.
Oh, the one I remember is do not use people as means to an end.
Means to an end. But the other one is act as though every one of your choices could be a universal principle, essentially. And here's the way I try to tell people, and I try to conduct myself this way. Act as though there's a video camera on you at all times.
That I do as a matter of conditioning. I mean,
because it's very much happening these days.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, in a way, it's sort of like not a replacement for God, but it's another conceptual, embodiment of God. There's either someone looking over my every action, or there's a camera doing it, in which case I'll live the same way.
So you're sort of a technological deist.
Well, I think I'm getting more and more spiritual as time goes on. For
pure deist.
When you, I'm telling you, since July 13 and what we witnessed, which I think is a bona fide miracle, with the Trump surviving that assassination and sparing the World War III that would have ensued, I don't know how anybody can look at that and not view it as some form of divine intervention.
Interesting.
I don't think there's any way to
so
look
God
at
has a plan.
I mean, it's a tragedy because, Corey Camperatore died, and it's still a murder scene. The only question is you can't control all the consequences of evil. But between what is and what would have been had that bullet caught Trump, we would be in World War III, which is sort of like when I was saying living in France. When you walk the streets, it's true. America, we fought, and Canada fought in World War II, but they were not in World War II.
Right.
And when I lived in Paris and I'm walking the streets, buildings had bullet holes in them. Like there's still scars of World War II, which they live with daily, and it's part of their essence, their being. Whereas we're a little bit more distant in North America, to the point where we don't notice communism when we usher it in real time.
We're bringing our version in. Come on now, we're just bringing totalitarianism.
Statism. It's not communism. It's statism, fascism, whatever. We're ushering it in, where we didn't live through it, we didn't smell it, we didn't taste it, and we don't know when it's coming. Whereas those who did look at this and say, it's coming.
I tell you, the people that really, I spoke to Nicole Shanahan, RFK Jr.'s running mate, and I think she was one that told me that her mother grew up during the Cultural Revolution, and she said, "No, this is how it happens. Speaking of smelling it, this is it."
Oh, that's it. And I had Naomi Parks on a while back. Today I had Ivan Raiklin on, who's, I discovered during the interview, his parents left communist Russia in the 70s. They know what it looks like. They know what it smells like. They know the hallmarks of it. When I was doing the Ottawa trucker protest, and after one of the days, I see I knew he was Chinese. He was following me, and I got a little suspicious, but I shut my camera off, and he says, "Is your camera off?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "This is what happened in China." Like when Trudeau comes in and talks about the language that he uses to other people, and I forget the exact term that he used. It was in one of his idiotic speeches. Like he said, "This is the language that of the Cultural Revolution of Mao's China." It's like I know it. You guys don't know it, but I know it. And
well, share with my audience, if you wouldn't mind, your deep affection for Justin Trudeau.
Speaking of getting religious, I know hatred is a terrible thing. It's a consuming force, and it turns the person who harbors the hatred, it poisons them. I loathe Justin Trudeau. I mean, I loathe him. It's like you can't look at someone, you can feel bad for them. Like, how can they become this evil? But at the end of the day, he is single-handedly destroying a nation. He's responsible for countless deaths, as far as, and in a meaningful sense. I lived through COVID in Canada. The lockdowns, the giving away our PPE to China when they knew this was coming, it led to countless deaths, poverty. But he goes and puts his hands together at the Pride Parade, and he virtue signals.
Oh, he does this?
Literally. They made the commie meme out of him. I loathe him, but I understand it's also not a good thing to have, because it's not going to change anything, and it's only going to maybe make me bitter and sour in life.
He's not popular, is he?
He's universally detested.
That's what I thought.
But the only problem is people vote in Canada sort of the way you vote in America, where you think, if I vote for a liberal, it makes me liberal. If I vote for a Democrat, it makes me a Democrat. It makes me democratic.
A good person.
It makes me a good person. Took to Twitter the other day to defend a friend who I consider a friend. I was like, guys, before anybody finds out, I voted for Trudeau in 2015. I was an ignorant, politically unaware, living my life, working as a lawyer, trying to raise a family.
I think most of us back then were sort of similarly inclined. And then all of a sudden, in this country, at least, Trump creates this huge thing. I don't know what that was, and it scared me. I didn't know what it was. I started listening to Scott Adams because he was helping me sort of figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden, we've never been the same. And
Well,
you guys were already going down the road of whatever it was.
Well, you look back and you can see the signs back in the day. The infamous video of him praising the basic dictatorship of China. Yeah, Trudeau. That's from 2015. There was a Huffington Post article that said, under Trudeau, Canada is going to become a China. I'm paraphrasing.
We have Waltz now who used to express great affection for the Chinese system.
And what more do you need to see to understand that you're not a good person for voting Democrat, and you're sure as hell not a liberal for voting liberal? I figured it out. I got politically savvy. I got, my naivete was shattered. Not because of Trump, but because of how the world reacted to Trump in 2016. And then, the veil was lifted, whatever, and it took me a long time to get comfortable expressing my own.
Is that why you ran down here?
We came down here. I never thought I would even come down here. It was COVID. It was COVID and some laws that they were passing in Quebec, which are communist laws. In Quebec, they removed parental supremacy as the overarching principle of the Youth Protection Act. And I said, if they do this, that's the red line. That's one of them. The other one was the internet laws in Canada.
And now you've had to assert your parental authority in the school system.
No joke. And we'll say, get right into that because...
Before we do, what was it I wanted to say? Shoot, I've lost my train of... Oh, I went to Canada. Did I tell you I was up there? I was in...
Quebec City, I think?
No. I was in Victoria.
That's the epicenter of wokeism in Canada.
Oh, is it ever? Is it ever? And I brought this up with the Canadian... In fact, there was a Canadian psychologist I had in here who wrote a book called Trump Derangement Syndrome, and she was studying what traits created that syndrome. And she was, let's say she was not extolling the virtues of the Canadian populace. She was similar-minded to you. And I said, I observed a few things. And I will look right at the camera and say this. This is not I'm not being, after I said this last time, people said, oh, he destroyed the Canadians. Oh, you should listen to what he said. Oh, he hates Canadians. I don't hate Canadians. This is just an observation. This is just how you guys are. And you tell me if I'm right. So woke everywhere, very, very, very woke. And we were having a conference on saving Canada, and it was really interesting. Zuby was there.
This was just over the summer, then,
This
right?
was a couple months ago, yeah.
Okay, I know the exact event you're talking about.
Yeah, McCullough was there, and Jay Bhattacharya got to meet and shake his hand, and what a wonderful man. In any event, what I noticed was everyone is so superficially nice. So nice. Saccharine nice. But you scratch the tiniest bit under the surface, not so much.
Well,
and I want to finish this for you. You tell me if this fits. I would call it a seething anger. And and I started thinking about it too. And this is not critical of you guys. Anybody who's incredibly anti-authoritarian, when they get authority, God help you. And that's who's in power here now. People who have spent their whole life anti-authoritarian. It's the same thing. That anti-authoritarianism, that if it's really intense, is a seething hatred for anybody, above them, so to speak. And I had one experience. Susan hates me telling this story, where I was at a gym. And I was, working in and stuff, working around equipment. And I saw this one lady get up and go to the bar, get a juice and stuff. And I didn't change her weights. she had her gloves there. I knew this was her equipment. I didn't move a thing. I didn't say anything, but I did a set and she came running down. That's mine. And I was like, yeah, I'm just working in. I'm not changing anything. Thank you. I appreciate it. Furious with me for daring to touch her equipment. I thought, oh, this is it again. I want what's yours. But when you touch mine, oh, God help you. I hate authority, except when I'm an authority, and then God help you.
My parents always said growing up, the kids are like communists. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine.
Yeah, I get the point. What's mine is yours, and what's mine is mine. Yours is mine, and mine is mine.
First of all, you were in Victoria, right?
Which I know is the absolute.
It's the woke. They flew the menstruation equity flag over City Hall in Victoria. I'm not joking. Everyone can Google this.
Listen, and I mean it. They're lovely people. They're truly lovely people.
I've talked
peace
about
and love, everybody.
Well, I've talked about it a few times. It's not a it's a superficial politeness. I don't know if it's superficial. It's a politeness. It's a deference to authority, but it means in a not good way where if anyone else is not deferential to that authority, they're going to make them deferential to that authority.
Right.
It's what happened during
COVID. Feel that. Yes. You can, like it's intolerance in the name of tolerance. It's being mean in the service of being nice. It doesn't work like that, folks.
There are a ton of, I call them, freedom fighting, freedom loving Canadians.
Yeah.
I unfortunately think they happen to be in the minority, which is why the vast majority of Canadians, at least in my experience, still think of the trucker protest as some form of right-wing, racist, extremist manifestation.
Right.
And I mean, people that I'm not any longer friends with, but within my milieu, still think they were racist, whatever. It is a deference to authority, which is the defining feature, I think, of the history and present of Canada compared to the States. The States was rebellion against authority, not bowing to it and being subservient to it. We are subjects up in Canada, and you are militias who fought the royalty for your God-given freedoms. Yeah. And so I think that history builds the present, and this sort of selection bias, I think is the word, where people who choose to come to Canada, I think I'm going to go to the polite country with that sort of mentality, and the people who come to America might be more like me and say, piss off, let me live a little bit of risky freedom as opposed to liberty and security in a prison.
Did you ever imagine, given that you were looking from afar at this country, that you'd have to fight to speak? That in this country, to speak up, that would be something that would be an issue?
Never in Canada, and certainly even less in America.
Right,
like we grew up with sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm you. What that? Dude, now it's silence is violence, and if you misgender me, then it's like the end of the world. I haven't read Coddling of the American Mind. I just know what it's about.
Jonathan Haidt is a genius.
No, this is telling people that their emotions get to dictate other people's conduct and not vice versa. Yeah. And a parent who's a good parent, it's like, kid called you stupid, get over it, and move on.
The perfect segue into something you asked me about as the mics were heating up. What treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder? I don't really know exactly why you thought about that.
Because I know you are big into rehab.
Treatment, mental health treatment.
And my question always is, I've asked it when we were live, how do you distinguish between addiction and compulsion?
Yeah.
And would the 12 steps work for OCD?
That's what he asked. So
for no reason, people.
But OCD and anxiety go together in some respect. But the reason I bring it up is the treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder, no matter how horrifying or how disturbing the symptoms, is exposure. Not withdrawal from the stimulus, but exposure and continued exposure to tolerating manageable doses of what I'm afraid of my computer. So we're going to start by putting my hand on my computer. And then we're going to work with the computer. You step into the environment with the stimulus of which you hate or are afraid of or hurts you, whatever it might be. Exposure is how you build resilience and regulation of emotions. We're doing the opposite with people. We're making them ill. We're saying that if something is upsetting to you, you must withdraw from it. Imagine if you had social anxiety. Social anxiety is about mastering and learning to function in a social setting. Instead, it's hurtful, it's uncomfortable, it makes me anxious. I'm going to sit at home. I can't imagine anything worse and more destructive.
Well, I've thought of this right now. If this is an original thought, I'm going to be very happy. Psychological allergies. It's the same thing that you'll tell me if I'm wrong. I'm just the hypochondriac. You're the doctor, but I think we have determined that.
I didn't know about the hypochondriac. Tell me more about that.
Dude, I'm dying from everything at all times. It doesn't matter. The idea that you don't expose kids to certain things and you increase the allergy rate.
It is listen. The immune system and the neurological system are not only intimately entwined, they function very similarly. One just happens to be at a distance and the other is with a wiring.
Yeah,
very similar function.
Psychological
exposure to an allergen will reduce the response. So you don't have anaphylaxis every time you come upon XYZ stimulus.
Well, I say psychologically, if you say you don't ever get to call me a name, you don't ever get to do anything to me that I don't want you to do with that word, and then you coddle that and you cater to that and you reinforce that, they become allergic to it. Where somebody misgendered me, it's the end of the day.
It's a great model. I like it.
Psychological allergy. What did I
like
say?
it.
What did I call it?
It's a psychological allergy.
Okay,
Yeah, an
good.
allergen. So I want to switch topics just because we promised to talk about these things. Zuckerberg's letter to Congress. What'd you think of that?
Getting ahead of the curve, or in terms of my bottom line is, I don't think he did it for any self-preservation reasons in a legal sense, because as a former lawyer, I read that letter and I'm like, holy crab apples, did you just admit to a lot of things that, for example, a Bobby Kennedy is now going to be able to use against you.
Okay, so stop right there first at that. That to me looked bold and brave.
The letter.
No, the fact that he put himself in potentially harm's way for the reasons you're describing. I mean, let's just give him a little nod here. So he was, because I believe that one of the reasons we don't have people admitting their mistakes is they're fearful of liability. That's one of the reasons. So he's breaking through that barrier a little bit.
We might be the optimist and I might be the cynic.
That's
now.
fine. It's fine.
If I'm looking at someone who I have deemed to be a dishonest scoundrel, I will view everything they do with the perspective
I don't do that.
He's not that I don't know that Zuckerberg. I don't know him as a person. Maybe he's a good father and whatever. He has been something of a scoundrel in business, something as a scoundrel in terms of why he even made Facebook in the first place, and certainly
as far as we know,
and as far as I can personally know, a scoundrel throughout COVID. And so now I'm not going to look at this and say, oh, he's finally seen the light.
No, and by the way, I don't like the way Facebook has been functioning, but I do believe in the strongest terms that what we need is everybody who is in a leadership position stepping up. I mean, Redfield's starting to do this, right? And go, yeah, we probably went too far with this. Yeah, we made a mistake. We thought this. And just go, look, I made a mistake. I will not do that again. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear. And he said that. He said, I won't do that again. Which I thought was a slow clap for him.
What I read is I was just following orders. What I read is that the damage is already done.
But isn't that him mitigating liability?
Well, from a perspective of maybe, I don't know, civil liability or in a class action suit, I was just doing what the government told me to do, although while maintaining that I had, some sort of freedom to choose not to.
It will not happen again. I love that. I think I want more of that from everybody.
I think he sees on the one hand what I think is the writing on the wall in terms of the tide that's moving now for Trump, the actual unity ticket, and what I believe would be the outcome of the election without the chicanery.
Do you not believe the polls?
No, the polls. Do I believe the polls? No. The short answer is no. They're a bunch of lies. They're trying to manufacture.
Do you believe the election can be carried out, safely, properly?
Well, I think that 2020 was tainted with in ways that other people who believe it was tainted with don't.
You're talking about 30 or 50 former FBI and CIA agents signing a document saying that this thing was a Russian disinformation asset that was going to affect the election. They turned it away, so it didn't affect the election.
Well, that's exactly it. I believe it was tainted in a way that does not involve vote flipping and German servers and whatever.
So it wasn't actually screwing with the
machines. Not so much. It was the mechanism of mail-in voting. I mean, I believe that was the.
I mailed my vote in.
Well, I believe that the hundreds of thousands of permanently detained people in, I forget now, Minnesota, I forget which state it was, where the changing of the rules, I believe tainted it. Now, I go back to that 2020 article, the Time article about how they fortified the election. They described election interference. They describe it as fortifying. It wasn't election rigging, it was election fortification. Bull crap.
So can we do that in 24?
It has to be able to beat the cheat. Is the
so it has to be a landslide.
Not even a landslide. It just has to be beyond the margins of what they can.
Do you think RFK Jr. is going to add that necessary margin?
I believe he already has, and the media is lying about the fact that he hasn't. The more the media ignores that unity ticket, that endorsement, the more you know it's a big deal.
Okay, so here is the Zuckerberg letter. The FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation, talking about the Hunter Biden stuff. It was not Russian, and in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policies and procedures, etc.
Bullshit. Sorry, I don't want to swear on your show.
Go ahead.
Bullcrap. Because they just censored. He wrote that letter. Now,
and by the way, if we mention hydrochloroquine or ivermectin, we will be censored on Facebook this afternoon.
I'm going to say a definitive bullshit to that. He's a liar, and he's a liar because they just censored the Trump fist in the air, fight photo on the basis that it was a doctored image. So he's writing this letter now saying, I saw the light. A month ago, he was suppressing that story that should have been viral, that should have been in the news day in and day out. So I don't believe him as far as I can throw him. And if he's doing this because I believe he's a scoundrel, he's doing it for scoundrel reasons. I think he sees the tide changing and he's trying to get in with the cool kids before there's a change of administration, so to speak.
How do you think about, what's the word now? It's not going to come to me. Kraft durch Freude.
Oh, hold on a second. Now I'm going to.
Kraft durch Freude.
What was? I know I saw that. I saw that just in the
Yes,
news
you
the other
did.
day.
Strength through joy.
Oh my goodness! I was going to say Arbeit macht frei. So it sounds like Arbeit macht
It
frei.
does sound
That's
that.
the work shall
Which
set you
is
free.
over the,
over
work
the
will set you free.
Look, I say the more things change, the more they stay the same. And Mark Twain.
Well, that's right. And I've been reading a lot of, like you said earlier, the Cultural Revolution has echoes in what happened in Canada. I've been reading a lot about the 1930s in Germany and some of the language and some of the descriptions. It's uncanny when you're living it. You see it again in writing from historical documents from back then.
Well, everybody has to go look it up. Strength through joy. In Wikipedia was a Nazi slogan. It was a Nazi part of the government, like the leisure, Department of Leisure or whatever. You realize why the Nazis didn't do it to be deceitful in that sense. They did it because their message wasn't resonating, and they knew that. I suspect, because if it's going
they had to get the enthusiasm of the crowd.
They had to brainwash people that their misery would somehow lead to joy later on down the line.
You use an important word here: brainwashing. What do you think of brainwashing going on these days? Where and when, how?
Well,
I think brainwashing is really happening to a lot of people.
There's no question.
I'm worried sometimes I'm getting brainwashed.
We're not getting brainwashed.
You can't resist brainwashing. We've done well.
If you are sufficiently neurotic, you always check your own thoughts. I believe that TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, is and this is Mark Grobert, America's Untold Stories, he's a friend of ours. He said, Viva, have you ever thought that TDS is just an iteration of MK Ultra brainwashing? And it's like, now that you mention it, TDS is just a weaponizing of a form of mental illness. And I have no doubt that since 2015, 2016, with the bombardment of media, having seen what they did during COVID, it was a mass brainwashing campaign, and it's broken people. COVID and Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Well, COVID, I would agree that it seemed more apparent.
I think it's more apparent because we've lived through. I now look back at what we lived through with Trump. Media coverage, day in and day out. It was the same psychological terror campaign that we had with COVID.
Yeah. It is, but I feel like the COVID went to a new level.
Oh yeah, there's no question. It was TDS, but now COVID went to a new level. Ukraine went to a new level.
But maybe it wasn't MK Ultra. Maybe the TDS was already underway in the sense that people were hysterical, and the hysterics just went to an incredible. That's what I thought I was seeing. I did not know the government was in there monkeying with things so much. I thought it was the media taking in a hysterical population and making them super hysterical so they could capture their eyes. That's what I thought at the beginning.
When was the first time you ever heard of Operation MK Ultra?
When I was reading about the the Kentucky Federal Prison Opioid Addiction Treatment Center. they did research. It was attached to that. All the LSD research and stuff. And in fact, the 28-day model and the whole model of biology of addiction was all worked out in this program. Whole thing was shut down because of MK Ultra.
Now I don't want to get you in trouble.
I know
we're over time.
I know we're over time. I got to take a break. But it wasn't just they were doing a lot of stuff, and some of it was good.
Well, but I say, like, once people learn of things that they never knew of, and it really allows them to contextualize what they're going through now, because it's just an iteration of what the government has tried to do in the past, has done in the past, and will try to do again in the future.
All right, we're going to take a break. We appreciate you all being here. There we are. Where am I? There I am. We have new cameras, so I'm not quite sure where I'm looking. We appreciate... I can't remember.
Slightly offensive.
Slightly offensive. Elijah here, the host of Slightly Offensive.
He did not freak out when Drew spilt a Coke on the console.
What is that thing? A Coca-Cola on the sound equipment right here to my left. And he snapped into action, put new equipment in. We're 20 minutes late. We appreciate you all for waiting for us. Let's see. I'm watching you guys on the Rumble Rants and on the Restream, see what kind of comments you guys, there's a lot of love for Viva in there. Thank you guys. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back after this.
You're operating with a T4.
Of course, I'm a fan of the healthy aging supplement True Niagen. I've been taking it almost for a decade myself. This supplement boosts NAD, which your cells need to survive properly metabolically, and it goes down as we age. It does so with a nutrient called nicotinamide riboside, or NR, specifically patented form of NR called Niagen. It's the most efficient and trusted NAD booster. NAD can also play a role in reproductive health. Boosting NAD is recommended with prenatal vitamins for women over 30 looking to start a family. Here's Dr. Amy, also known as the Egg Whisperer, a highly influential specialist in this area.
That was when I said, this is amazing. I need every single person going through fertility to take it. I not only take it myself, my patients have shared stories. They took it and then they got pregnant naturally. And that's really my goal, is I want people to empower themselves with the tools so that they can get pregnant without my help.
True Niagen is an amazing NAD booster. You're going to want to add it to your reproductive health arsenal. And of course, it's in our family of Dr. Drew sponsors. Go to drdrew.com/True Niagen for 20% off your order. That is drdrew.com/True Niagen. Enter Dr. Drew at checkout for 20% off. I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins. And a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue, and we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15. Many of us have not gotten over COVID. I'm not talking about the virus itself, but the response. We were flabbergasted by what the government could do to us. There is no telling what they might pull next time, and it's looking more like there will be a next time. So we all have to be what I call rationally ready. That's where the wellness company comes in. TWC is about access to physicians via telehealth, access to potentially life-saving medication. Years ago, having access to medication and telehealth might have seemed crazy, but now it seems crazy not to. Now, with claims that gain-of-function research have been done on the bird flu, I urge everyone to take control of their healthcare with the help of the wellness company. Go to drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off all their products, including the 4 medical kits, each of which has a different purpose. And we've added Tamiflu to one of them in case the bird flu does become a problem for humans. Be rationally ready. drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off.
I ain't Dr. Drew.
Dr. Drew. You want to spend the whole session talking about Dr. Drew?
There you go. Even you call him Dr. Drew.
And I'm down here with my friends at TWC. You've got all their emergency kits here. I do recommend these most strongly. Now the medical emergency kit includes an EpiPen at an extraordinary reasonable price, much, much better than so many other places you might get access. Am I getting, where's Peter? He's gone. Yeah, this is the first aid kit. Then I think this is the travel kit. Yeah, this is the one I was very instrumental in setting up, because it's stuff I give my patients, and we don't travel without it. So do check out the TWC. Do you work with TWC also?
Yes, I do.
Good. You should.
It's the perfect thing for a neurotic person.
It's fine. Yeah, listen, I'm down here. I did Ben Shapiro's. I'll be on Ben Shapiro's show on Sunday. It was because of TWC that I'm here. But hang on a second. You've lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm of the opinion that my defense of the doctor-patient relationship has failed. We just lost it. And so we got to let the patients get things directly. And TWC access that for you. And of course, you're sending kids back to school after the long summer. It's a relief for many parents like us who used to be the best babysitter. And it gets even better if you pack some Paleo Valley protein sticks in their lunches. By the way, I've been living on those on the road here. Fantastic sticks packed with nutrients. Really is like eating a meal. And they're so filling, and they're low calorie. They're sourced from grass-fed and finished beef, pasture-raised poultry, and pork. The chicken sticks, I've been eating a lot of those recently for some reason. I love them. They're delicious. They come in a variety, including beef, chicken, pork, and of course, venison, which I think I'm going to go home and eat venison. I love these sticks. If you can avoid the processed meals served up in the schools, it's probably a good idea to do so. This is carefully done. It's fermented. We love working with this organization. We think you will love being a customer. And get yours today at drdrew.com/PaleoValley for 15% off your first order, or subscribe and you'll save 20% so you never run out. That is drdrew.com/PaleoValley. I was thinking about this today before we got in here today, that when I was growing up, we had space food sticks. Did you ever have that? You're not old enough for that?
No, I grew up
space
on...
food, these crappy, pressed out, because the astronauts use them.
Oh, I do. I remember that.
And when I think about Paleo Valley now, which are these nutrient-packed sources of grass-fed meat, I mean, this is real food as opposed to the space food stick that I was raised on.
Do you remember Swanson's TV dinners, the Salisbury steak?
Are you kidding? Listen, Corolla lived on that stuff. But I just thought we used to take stuff into our school lunch, which was these processed shit. And it was so cool because it was in a package of space food. We have real meat now, so there you go.
Now you bring that up again, but the school food is also something that parents need to look at and need to understand that you might need to pack your kids' own lunch.
Well, whatever happened to parents feeding their own children? Why all of a sudden did that become the state's job?
Well, if it's anything like in Canada, there became the issue of it being stigmatized with children who don't have responsible parents, who don't come in with lunches, versus those who do. And so the idea is you lower the tide for everybody to make everything equal, instead of going about it the proper way, which is trying to raise those who are not as fortunate as others. But I saw what my kids are eating at school. It is all the same color. That's the biggest problem.
Right. So are we starving or are we obese? Which is it?
Well, statistically, I think it's not an American thing. Obesity, and if anyone looks up the stats, there's a lot of obesity in Quebec. There's a lot of obesity in Canada. And
really?
I don't think but there's also a lot of child hunger in Canada. So the irony is, I think
it's a socialist country. How does they not have food for kids?
Oh, well, 1 in 4 kids are having food insecurity in Canada.
How's that possible?
Because the government doesn't do anything better than private enterprise, except for screw things up and give themselves more power after they screw it up. But it's a fact. And it's just obscene, because you have the prime minister himself talking about basically crippling the economy even more, shipping however many hundreds of millions off to Ukraine. He has only the best food when he flies across the globe to lecture us on the ills of global warming. And 1 in 4 kids in Canada are experiencing food insecurity. Why
the sort of fetishization of global warming?
It's the next religion. It's the next TDS. You had TDS. You had COVID. You had Ukraine. You have global climate crisis, whatever the hell you want to call it.
What is that? Why are we doing that?
It's a good way to control the population. They understand that. You whip them up into a frenzy of existential threat, and they will make bad decisions. I did this with my kid one day, just as an experiment. I said, I'm going to do something. Don't get mad. And then I said, you got to make a decision. Go make the decision now. What do you want to do? And I'm like, 3 for 7, 3. And I'm deliberately panicking him. And he can't do it when you're being panicked. You make bad decisions when you are in a state of terror and panic. And that's what the government does to ensure full control over the people. Make them live in perpetual fear and panic.
Why are we suddenly going that way? Why is the West, is somebody in, now our buddy Mark Rivera, you mentioned earlier, he would say that there's been a Marxist infiltration of some type, that's a big plan underway. It's hard for me to accept that, but I'm like Joe Rogan now. I swear
anything's
to God.
possible.
Earth could be flat. I don't know. Anything's possible.
That I will never get on.
Well, but I'm open to literally everything now.
I just had on Ashton Forbes the day before yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before, who sincerely, genuinely believes that
Viva Frei, or on your show?
On my show. And he's the guy who, he broke down or tried to, he basically believes that the Malaysian flight MH370 was popped through a wormhole.
Is he the guy with the circles around on the video?
Yeah,
she's obsessed with him.
Well, he gave it like, who am I? Am I going to tell him I can't believe that? They're like,
yes.
No, I can't. I don't say I do believe it, but I'm not going to call him crazy for believing it.
Crazy.
And I say, like, the thing I always say is, he's going to say that. I'm going to say, you're crazy for believing that, but here's how babies are made. You put a seed in a belly, and then another human grows inside you see, and they don't have a mouth, so they suck food through an umbilical cord. Like, someone say, you're crazy, dude. If they didn't know it, they'd say you're crazy. So, no, there's nothing that I will reflexively write off without considering. Now, I forgot what we were talking about when we got there.
Obama? Oh, no.
Oh, no, whether or not there's a communist, I don't believe that. But I know people make a lot of jokes about it. And I don't believe Macron's wife is a man either. No, the communist infiltration,
Marxist, not even communist.
Well, let's say, well, the Marxist is not a full, who was I listening to? I don't want to steal this thought, but it's not an ideology, it's a tactic. Jack Posobiec, I believe it's his idea. Or if it's not his, at least I'll give him credit for it. That Marxism is not a philosophy, it's a war tactic.
Okay.
To divide and conquer. And whatever needs to fit into the oppressor versus oppressed will be applied mutatis mutatis.
Why? I mean, you know, to listen to Mike Benz, it would be the fact that the three-letter agencies have some sort of something.
Yeah, you can go with that. I think it's just government doing it so that government can grow and government can be what it is, or revolutionaries. I personally believe it's a deliberate destabilizing of the West done by China. I do believe that.
Also, Susan will be in your camp.
No, and I believe TikTok is the weapon of war that they're using. TikTok, fentanyl, and brainwashing Americans into what Gad Saad calls suicidal empathy, implementing policies that will bring about their own demise, but feeling good while they're doing it. I hate TikTok too. No, TikTok is a poison. And it's not to say that Instagram is any better, YouTube Shorts are any better, but if they're using it as a weapon, whether or not it's on purpose, the outcome is the same. Yeah, look, what they promote by way of rubbish is brainwashing nonsense that is leading to the mass sterilization of children in Canada.
So let's talk about
and what they do in China is good for them.
What do you mean by brainwashing? What do we mean when we say that?
Brainwashing, I mean, it is basically causing people to engage in behavior that is...
what do we mean by brainwashing? What do you mean?
Yeah, how do I define brainwashing? It's getting people to do things without even know that they're doing it.
Hypnotizing?
No, I mean, I guess that would be...
persuading?
No, hold on.
It's all of the above, I think.
Well, no, now you asked the question as to what I even mean by brainwashing. What do I, well, brainwash you typically...
I had the good fortune of speaking to Matthias Desmond, right? He's the guy that came up with the mass formation theory. And he has a book called The Psychology of Totalitarianism. He wrote it before COVID, and he was onto this early. And it's essentially a technique that's well established and well known by lots of people. It sort of goes on the positive end, it goes under the heading of persuasion. In the middle, it would go hypnosis. In the negative, it would go sort of criminal, psychopath kind of stuff. And it affects 20% of people easily all the time. And that 20%, they can be evangelical. You got to be real. They can be dangerous, and they can bring hell. 20% of the public can bring hell down. 10%, which we represent, throws the bullshit flag right away and goes, well, maybe not right away, but eventually just goes, it doesn't seem right to me. That's not hypnotizable. And then there is the 70% in the middle that just want to be left alone. And they're the ones we need to bring on board, raise their awareness, get them to understand that should this start up again, they don't fall victim to that 20% that gets whipped into a frenzy.
Now that you asked the question, I want to make sure I formulated, because you have to say, like, what's the difference between brainwashing and educating? And I guess if I'm going to go with brainwashing, it's getting someone to believe something that's fundamentally not true or contrary to reality, but that is also destructive.
Do things.
And do things. And because you have to think, like, well, someone's going to say, well, then religion is brainwashing.
Yeah, there's qualities in that.
Well, and then I would say to that, well, if it's getting you to believe something that's not disprovable, but it's good for you.
Well, there's like saying, when is hypnosis unethical? Hypnosis can be very problematic if the hypnotist isn't ethical. The same thing with religion. Religion has a persuasion element to it, but it's hyper ethical. Although it has run amok, we all know history has been,
Who said if you can get people to believe absurdities, you can get them to commit atrocities? It's one of the great...
I think it's Stalin, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Stalin. No. I thought it was an existential philosopher. Oh. Bottom line, I'm going to adopt that as brainwashing. It's getting people to believe the absurdities in order to get them to commit the atrocities on varying levels of severity.
Keep going, you're telling me.
No, and so I think we are... So when I say mass brainwashing, it is getting people to believe things that are fundamentally not true, such as Trump is Satan incarnate, Trump is Hitler, Trump is an existential threat, or boys can be girls and girls can be boys, or the hitherto the most corrupt country in Eastern Europe, Ukraine, is now on par with deities and saints. And those are the manifestations of the brainwashing as I refer to it. But it has to be getting you to believe something that's not true, to get you to do something that is contrary to your interests or destructive, which is why I would separate brainwashing from religion in general, which in theory gets you to do good things.
Good things, right.
But there could also be bad religion.
Right. So we are prone to... They're a good band, though.
That's before my time.
We are prone to... They were all friends of mine. We are prone to these persuasion. We are prone to mass formations. We are prone to mobs. It's just part of the human experience, right? And it can be used for good. It can do good things, and it can go very, very
Well, but
bad.
then I guess if you're going to brainwash, in quotes, someone into exercising, why? Because it's good for you.
Right.
That I wouldn't call that brainwashing, because you're not getting them to believe something that's not fundamentally true. So I don't think you can brainwash someone into believing something that's true.
It's persuaded.
Yeah, that's persuasion or education.
Motivate.
Was it Sartre? It was
Voltaire.
Voltaire, okay.
Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
Like
I swear to
lines,
God,
calling in on your neighbors.
People always say that Plato had it all. Voltaire had it all.
Well, I mean, these are, I bet you're going to find something, an iteration of that in the Bible, because these are fundamentally human conditions that people observe and express in ways that get better absorbed or worse absorbed depending on the era.
I agree. So it's funny. I have these conversations, and it's not that I run out of steam for them. I start to get like dissociative. I start to shut down. I get numb because it's so overwhelming to me and it's so disturbing that I just start to shut down.
No, well, I mean, I don't know how many friends you've lost over the course of COVID.
I think, well, I didn't lose friends, but colleagues, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Thank God friends hung on long enough for me to be right.
Who said this one, that the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy?
Oh, yeah.
And
Not caring.
I am not yet giving up. You know, like they say, like getting mad at somebody is wrong. It's like, no, not caring is the worst.
Yeah, and so Viva, this is the point, that when I start to feel this way, what I always go is, there's one point that I can point at that is something I always have energy for and can always stand up for, and that's speech, free speech. So I can keep talking. I'll have something to say, and I'll defend your right to say it. I'll defend everybody's right to say whatever they want to say, whenever they want to say it. I don't care how much it hurts me. And by the way, if something hurts me, maybe there's information in there I should be looking at.
Well, but this is what people don't understand. If something hurts you, it's not because it's wrong. Like if it's wrong, if someone calls me fat, it's not going to hurt me. If someone calls me too tall, it's not going to hurt me. If someone calls me short, by the way, it's not going to hurt me, trolls. I don't care. But you don't get hurt by that which is fundamentally not true. You get hurt by that which you think carries an ounce of truth.
Yeah.
And so, look, sometimes people call me conceited. Or arrogant, and that hurts a little bit.
All these things are so true about you.
No, but the arrogant.
Why are you arrogant?
Or that he likes the sound of his own voice.
Fish. Arrogant people don't behave like that.
I got to stop reading the troll comments. But no, every night. So when I do get hurt, and I say, well, I'm not hurt because I don't believe it. So if I'm hurt, it must be because I do believe a part of it, or at least I fear that a part of it might be true.
Yeah, you fear it. Yeah.
And
you disavow it if it is true.
No, if it is true, I'm going to work on bettering myself. When someone says you shouldn't have tweeted that, David, like my father, he's like, you're getting very rude with your tweets.
Who said this?
He doesn't say it quite like that, but no, my dad's like, should you be tweeting in such an aggressive or offensive manner? And then it's like, ooh, Dad. It's like, but wait a minute, you're right. And then I say,
God, I said that to Jay Bhattacharya. He's like, should I calm it down? I go, no, I love it.
I say to my father, sometimes you need to cuss the people need cussing. Now, that might be the good response, or that might be just me trying to justify my own.
You make the rest of us feel good. Yeah. It's like, I wish I'd said that.
But then there's a little bit of the old, I'm doing it now because of the way, the crowd, and that's a little bit of, a mob mentality, which I also want to avoid. But at some point in time, there's nothing left to say but go fuck yourself. And I feel bad. And then I was like, oh, my grandmother would say, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But my grandmother died before COVID, and the world is a little bit different now.
It is different. I can't get over it.
No,
can you get over it? I can't get over it.
No, I cannot believe the world. And I've lost friends because, anyways, I won't even get into it.
People that do get over it, I don't understand how they got over it.
No, it's like, you expect me to forget what you all just did for the last 4 years?
Yes.
Or you expect me to forget the fact that, like, we are careening towards World War III, and you have somehow brainwashed yourself into thinking it would be worse under Trump? It's like, well, at least it's not Trump. I mean, we're joyful, like Al Sharpton screaming joy, or that guy Walls. Like, this is the brainwashing. Oh, you're not unhappy now. You're not paying more for things. Your life is not more miserable now. We're not on the path to World War III. You're joyful. We're joyful soldiers. What does she call it? Joyful warriors. But no, I said, like, it's a sick way to think. My grandmother died at 103, so like she didn't miss any life on Earth. the biggest blessing was that she died in October 2019, and not
my dad would have died again if during COVID.
No,
it would have killed him again.
No, and she lived in a world where she was born before 1914. I would say like right at World War I, lived through the Great Depression. She met my grandfather after he fled from Poland.
Yeah.
And she didn't see how, I mean, not that it's worse now, but like, I think in a way society is I can't imagine it being at a worse state now. But because I think we're actually heading into something of a much bigger global conflict. But
possible. I hate to think of that, but well, I want to back off that and talk about your years in Paris a little bit. And I feel like the French experience is about the mobs, and they still kind of celebrate it. You know, they go out in the street on Saturday night and they're very into their mob actions. Did you study that at all? Have you studied mobs?
No.
What was it, Le Bon and his whole thing?
No, I didn't study him, but I lived on Boulevard Saint-Michel, which is, they call it Boule Mich. That's where everyone, Saturday morning, there was a protest. In 90, they weren't violent. They were just people marching down the streets, demanding whatever.
Interestingly, a couple years ago when I was there, was young people demanding to undo the mandates because they said that's not liberty. You mandated something that you said we don't need. We're healthy. We're young people. Why you mandate this? That's not liberté. That's not.
But there's no Western country right now that is truly for the values that
upon which they were established.
Yeah. I mean, it will segue into Pavel Durov and Macron saying he respects freedom of speech and freedom of expression. A month after he was saying we got to censor social media because they're seeing the consequences of our awful open border immigration policy.
So is that why he was arrested in Paris?
Well, it's unclear who called the shots because you have the FBI trying to buy their, what do they call them? The programmer? Engineer. To get a back end into.
Didn't it seem like that was the big issue, that they wouldn't let the three-letter agencies have access?
Absolutely, it's not a.
That's the issue.
I mean, look.
So that means that every other encrypted whatever must have CIA involvement. Because because they weren't involved, they would arrest the guy that prevented it.
It means that the governments, in order to maintain their control, they don't like the God-given right to privacy at a digital level.
Right.
And they do not respect any form of fundamental freedom of speech. They need to control the narrative, and they need to control...
Control, or at least understand it, or know it, or watch it.
No, I think they want to get they want to get their moles in. B, they don't want people organizing. C, they want to know everything that's going on, and they want to have us all on a digital leash. It's not an accident that this war comes at the same time as pushing digital currency. But let's say, so living in France in 99, 2000, first of all, on an observational level, I said this I feel bad because people live in France. I was in Paris and everyone said Paris doesn't reflect France. It was a pee-pee-soaked heckle back when I was there in 99, 2000.
What?
It's from The Simpsons. So instead of saying a urine-soaked hellhole, you got to say a pee-pee-soaked heckle. There were places in 99, 2000 where you didn't go. It was dirty and there were a bunch of problems even back then. I went back in 20. I was in Paris proper, but they're like banlieues you didn't go, and there were certain arrondissements where you just didn't go.
Which ones?
I don't remember the numbers. Okay. I just remember I lived in Paris 4, Paris 5.
I was in the Marais, and it got a little bit dicey down there.
There was a place, I forget it's the square, someone's going to remember in the chat, or know in the chat.
Okay.
You didn't go through it, and I went through it at night just to see. It was literally like Prey, Predator. I walked through within 30 seconds, guys were coming up to us, kicking cans at us, and I just bolted like I've never bolted. Then I went back in 2015 to do a marathon in Chamonix Mountain. It was fantastic. And I said, my kids saw it, I said, we're never coming back to this place. This is not a functional society. This is not a functional country anymore. And costs are exorbitant. You could feel the tension in the street. You could cut it with a knife. Social, cultural. I said, we're never coming back here. I didn't know that also add to the list England. I'm never going to these places again until they change fundamentally, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, by the way, at least in Britain, things are shaping up, they could...
extradite us from here.
That, or arrest you when you land for something you said on social media.
But people don't understand this. Like, everyone's like, oh, it's all fun and games to see people getting arrested for mean tweets or mean Facebook posts to migrants or immigrants, whatever you want to call them, in terms of like... People say, well, you can't. They're the illegal immigrants. You can't call them that anymore, and you're going after all migrants, whatever.
They're not criminals.
This is Kamala's new genius. Yeah. But it's like it becomes a meme, then it becomes reality, and then it becomes an actual risk, and we're seeing it They're the threat, not just to crack down like flipping fascist tyrants in England, but then to threaten people abroad for stirring racial divide on the internet. I mean, it's nuts. And now they threaten extradition, but you land your plane. Don't go through these countries.
What's going to happen? Pavrov, that's his name, right?
Pavel Durov.
Durov.
Yeah, so he's the CEO, founder of Telegram.
Yeah. What's going to happen to him?
Well, I mean, they finally charged him. It took
He got
him,
out like on $2 million get bail.
Yeah, and he can't leave the country. It's an open air prison. If Macron, who likes freedom of speech, let the court system play out.
Do you think he's going to like do the Sound of Music and walk over the Alps or something to get out of there?
You know, I've never seen the Sound of Music in my entire life. I know.
You're not gay like me.
I know the hashtag we're both canceled, Drew. No,
No, I mean it.
No, I only know it from The Simpsons. That's all I know of the Sound of Music.
You need to watch it.
But no, he made the mistake. Did you see his interview with Tucker Carlson?
No.
So in that interview,
Yeah.
a month ago, he's like, Tucker asked him, he says, like, do you feel nervous going to these countries? And he says, well, I avoid weird countries. I'm not going to China. I'm not going to Russia. And he's like, do you go to the US? He's like, not if I can avoid it. And lo and behold, he went to France. It's a weird country now. It's on par with China, Russia, and Biden's America. And what did he learn?
Did you see Putin's brilliant move to invite everyone to St. Petersburg? And you can get a visa on September 1st in Russia. Did you see that whole campaign?
I did. I saw it.
I think it's genius. I think it's genius.
But the irony is
because listen, your buddy Mark Rivera, we brought it 3 times now. If things go bad, he's going to Moscow. That's his plan. I told him, don't go to St. Petersburg. It's nicer.
Well, I wouldn't. I still wouldn't go to Russia. But I mean, the question is, where do you go when it comes here? Like
that's right.
The ultimate irony in all of this, for all their vilification of Putin. You remember, like
Vladivostok. Maybe we'll go to the ports.
They got good drinking fluids out there. So for all their demonizing Putin, they've become worse than Putin. Literally,
that's the crazy thing.
No, Ukraine locks up Gonzalo Lira and kills him.
That's why I brought up the conversation early, an hour ago. I was saying that we don't realize the effects that World War II and the St. Petersburg siege and things that people, it's literally intergenerational trauma. It's in their bodies. They naturally react to these things that we don't even think about.
Well, that, and they also probably are a little bit more historically literate than us. I won't say privileged, fortunate people in the West who've never had to live through it.
Your son is now living a privileged life.
Well, I would say, like, having seen the food that they eat in school, having seen what they are not being taught in school, and having gotten the most wild email from our school. We decided with our 3rd kid, we're going to try homeschooling for a year and see how it goes. I'll tease it, but one day I'll reveal the email. It was an email that we joked earlier. It was like that scene from Uncle Buck when Uncle Buck goes to the school and they're talking about how his niece is a silly heart and she doesn't take a single thing in her career as a student seriously. And he says, she's only 6. And he's like, I hear that every day and I dismiss it. I mean, I get this email. I replied with a 2-liner like, this sounds like very normal behavior for an 8-year-old.
You said that?
Yeah, I said, I'll talk with my wife. 2-liner, biting my tongue to not say what I wanted. But we're really living in it's a bizarre world where
Caleb, I'm going to have you give Viva some info on how to be a good parent to a homeschooled child. Caleb was schooled at home, yeah?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's laughing.
No, he's good, and I've gotten
he's fine.
I've gotten
he's
close
living
with
a very productive life now.
I'm telling you, like, school is for some people.
We'll tell you all about it when we get off camera.
School is for some people, and it's not for others. And I had Sam Sorbo.
I'm going to predict your son will do great at school. This is early childhood, sort of normal male, hyperactive sort of stuff. I told you, I looked at you don't know this, I looked at my 2nd grade report card when my mom died, and it was describing some of this stuff. I was shocked. I don't remember any of it. I don't remember any of it.
What you realize what it is one of 2 things. First of all, I don't want to get into the full theory of emasculating men.
Yes.
But they're certainly training young boys out of thinking there's something fundamentally wrong with being young boys, which is, you understand the level of stress and stigma that creates within the kid himself. Like, what's wrong with me? I can't sit still. You're an 8-year-old boy. You're not supposed to sit still. You're supposed to be doing cannonballs into bean bags and mixing your food on a plate. My goodness. And then the other thing is, if that kid did what I did in school today, he'd be institutionalized. Like, it's
maybe that. I'm just saying. maybe that would have been. I don't know.
You never know.
But it reminded me of the scene from Young Frankenstein when Gene Wilder is with. What's her name? He was her assistant, and she goes, "Doctor, do you not touch your food?" He goes, "There, you're happy. You're happy. You've touched it now."
I'll tease. I'll spoil it. I get part of the email said, your child was reportedly mixing food. And I was going to reply.
Are you happy?
The sinful part of me wants to reply.
It now.
Like, I want to like, Biatch, do you know what happens when it goes into your stomach? Like, it gets mixed somewhere. It's either in or out.
You're building that case for institutionalization again. Slow down, slow down. Let me just look really at the comments, because when we were getting going here, there really was a lot of enthusiasm for you being here. Yeah, they're having a nice time on the restream. I'm watching you guys. For some reason, we get comments about fertility going down here. We weren't talking about that topic, but it's true.
Drew, is 43 years old for a woman too late to have a fourth child? Just asking for no particular reason.
Fourth child? I thought you guys had two.
No, we got three.
She'll have to answer the question whether it's good for her brain, which is a whole other matter.
Go on. Why?
I mean, just stressful to the system. Okay. I mean,
so we're not doing it, people. It's not a serious thing.
But I'm going to tell you what. We have something we represent called True Niagen, and Kat Timpf, on Gutfeld, she was going into fertility treatment. I said, try the True Niagen about 1 gram, pregnant in a week. And it really, I did an interview with a fertility specialist. She swears by it.
No, we're not really thinking about doing it. I was just like, I said I could
have her. I'll tell you how to get this stuff. It really is remarkable. That,
no, it's not a question of fertility.
Nicotinamide riboside.
Should be pregnant by
nicotinamide riboside is the ingredient that's the necessary one, the important one.
But anyways, just to quell rumors, we're not having a fourth kid. But I think we're now past that point in any event. But yeah, we got 3 kids.
No, Molten Salt. It wasn't Madeline Kahn. It was Terry Garr. All right, just saying. One of the great. Do you know who I'm talking about, Madeline?
Not at all. I'm just
Young Frankenstein.
Trying to look smart while I don't know.
Have you seen Young Frankenstein, the movie?
No, but I've seen the jokes. But all that I know from these movies is from The Simpsons.
You should. That's.
I mean, that I know.
That you should at least watch Young Frankenstein, because you'll enjoy it. The Sound of Music will be a bit of a task, but it is interesting history nevertheless. But I would watch Young Frankenstein. It's sort of a genius. I interviewed. I got to know Cloris Leachman, who was in that also, and she said it was the most perfect film. She'd been in hundreds of films. It's the most perfect film ever done. It was
how old are you? I think I know. Am I allowed asking you?
Go ahead.
Well, because I think you should only be 55, but what you're describing now is a different generation. So
I'm of a different generation. I'm 65.
You're 20, not to make you feel old, you're 20 years older than me. You're 50% older than me based on my age now.
Well, fuck you. But
no, how do you do it? I go the 20 years based on the 45.
You know what it is? You're looking at my wife going, she can't be 65 too, but she's the same age as me. And so that's why you're biased. That's why you don't think I look that old.
Well, first of all, that is objectively amazing for anybody who doesn't see this. You're 65, smooth skin, young looking, energetic. No cognitive lag whatsoever.
What about Kamala?
Let's talk about Kamala.
Okay, Susan wants to talk about Kamala. But
so speaking of alcohol,
no, do you think that's the thing?
Well, I have a serious question and then I have a not serious question.
I cannot. I've heard the alcohol rumor. I've heard people raise it as an issue. You've noticed I've been quiet because we know she likes wine. People that like wine tend to drink wine in the middle of the day. And that can change your behavior even when you don't have a problem. So if I were vice president, I'd be nervous that somebody would see me after a glass or two of wine. Maybe she's not nervous. I don't know.
We'll start with the less serious question.
I want to be super accurate and sort of equanimous for everybody. You know what I mean? I don't want us to be as bad as the others.
No, for sure. Well, I wanted to ask you, like, do you your level of alcohol consumption? Do you think is it low that attributes to looking younger, going older? Like, does drinking alcohol make people age faster?
It does. I'm not drinking at all right now, but I was a modest drinker for many years. I don't think it really.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now get to Kamala. I personally
not smoking. That's a big.
Oh, forget smoking. No, I don't. My issue is I don't.
And exercising. Sarcopenia is the enemy. So losing muscle mass. That's the enemy. You want to resistance training. You want to do resistance training. It's very important.
I might have to start. I do the cardio, but
you obviously control your weight and stuff. It's so good. Yeah, cardio after a while becomes a stress to your system, and you want to think about it. Do runners look like they have a good muscle mass?
Yeah, I always attribute that to like over-exercising versus just a moderate amount.
Correct. And so as you get older, that moderate amount is sort of in the HIIT cardio zone, and then you do resistance training on top of that. So you got time.
Okay, good. Well, the less serious part, or the more serious part, I genuinely and sincerely believe that she's drunk sometimes. Like, the behavior, the slurring of the words.
That's not possible.
No, and I thought this before I even knew that she was subscribed to the wine club.
There's a certain number of things that I've seen her doing where I hope that's what I'm saying.
Because otherwise it has, the
it's
alternative
not
is something more neurological.
or, you know.
Or and I should say alcohol versus drugs, or I don't know what drugs people take. Like,
Nah,
I used to, I don't want to get too...
The pills, you can see the eyes look a little different. I don't see anything like that.
I was in the professional field of law. I was shocked by the amount of people who did drugs. I mean, the alcoholism is one thing. I was shocked by the amount of cocaine consumption and marijuana consumption.
Oh, marijuana.
Blown my mind. But this was, a decade ago.
Well, now the marijuana is so much more powerful. It's insane.
Powerful and legal up in Canada.
The place where it is legal, the concentration is just harmful. It's now harmful. So be careful.
Now, don't miss that. I'm neurotic, Drew.
All right, we're good.
Good.
We're good.
No, so that's it. Kamala Harris, her latest word salad is a thing of beauty. Her latest tweet. This is where you talking about brainwashing. Change the words, change the way people actually think about things, and you get them undocumented. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. First of all, and she tweeted this. What did she tweet? The one that Elon retweeted. This is a real tweet. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant, and they're basically telling you up is down. In fact, there's no such thing as a illegal immigrant. And then people start tweeting to Elon, "Oh well, how did you didn't have your papers? You were illegal." People who are applying or permanent residents or have visas are all documented immigrants. The undocumented is the definitional concept of an illegal. They've committed at least one crime, crossing the borders of another country without permission.
Well, I thought about that today, and I think she's making the case that it's not illegal to seek asylum and to go through the system.
And then you realize the war of the words. They've now transformed all of this. Back in the day, it was undocumented immigrant. It was an asylum seeker. And now you can't use that one anymore. Now we got to move the goalpost. Everyone's an asylum seeker.
Back to free speech. We need to, now it's about, you want to talk about resist the speech police. Start using any language you want. You describe it as you please. That's the way it goes.
I'm pushing back on the Overton window, and I don't want to get you in trouble, but I'm pushing back on using the term retarded.
That's on now. The comedians have reclaimed it. They've reclaimed it. It's over.
No,
the Overton window, though, on COVID is what I'm interested in.
Oh, no,
the fact that we can say words like ivermectin.
No, I want to go back to the old school.
Something happened here. What happened? We went off the air or something.
He said the R word.
Something, I guess. Oh, it's because I use those words. It's because I use those words. So they try to push us off the air.
Do you know Luke Rutkowski?
No.
He's a good podcaster. He's a younger guy. He gave me a lawn sign that says, "In this house, we use the words gay and retarded." And you say that now to kids, and it's like their minds explode. Like, dude, we grew up in the 80s and the 90s. It was never an insult back then in the sense that it has become like linguistic toxic poison now. And you all need to grow a pair and realize that if that's what someone calls you, it's not the end of the world. And also, by the way, if you use the word idiot, imbecile, moron, you're a hypocrite, because all three of those words have the exact same clinical connotation as that's okay.
They were specific categories of cognitive
2 years
delays.
old, 5 years old, 7 years old.
Yeah. But but exposure is the way to deal with it, like you're saying. But somebody super chatted me here about having a fear of moths, and she doesn't think she could tolerate exposure to moths.
Oh, can I judge this person for their fear?
Hang on. No,
I'm joking.
Maybe not, but I would say that they would probably, if somebody were treating it, I'm not sure they'd make you, really. I mean, it'd be kind of hard to expose to moths. They'd probably have some sort of moth thing, but they'd start to focus in on what bothers you about the moth and expose you to things like that.
Well, because I would say to the moth
you could tolerate it. But again, they only give you what you can tolerate. It's tolerable doses of exposure, or else you make things worse. So
the moth would be an easy one to deal with, through discussion and through sensitization, because they actually pose no risk whatsoever.
Right.
Bees
are
gross. Tougher to get used to. I'm saying this to justify my own fear. If I approach the bee slowly and I see it, fine, and I don't like it, but if it flies in my face, I'm screaming like a girl, and there's nothing.
I've had some very strange things. I had one that went down I was in a tuxedo and it went down my collar.
That's the stuff
the hell out of
nightmares.
me.
That's nightmares. I mean, down my throat.
It wasn't that bad. And I got stung in the eye once, and that was really bad. I was disabled. I couldn't move. And then we were in Mexico.
How do you get stuck in the eye?
It was in a pool, and it came. I was in a pool, and it must have floated in or something.
Holy cow!
But and I almost drowned. I was like, because it paralyzed me. That was the dangerous part. And I was in Costa Rica, and we were on horses, and the guide goes, wasp nest over there. Be quiet. As he's saying that, I felt like somebody shot me in the chest. It really was a through and through. Now that catches your attention, the wasp sting.
To the moth lady, I mean, I would suggest go to a butterfly museum and
go for the pretty ones. Yes.
Yeah, no, the moths are call in French they're called papillons de nuit, night butterflies.
Yes,
but I can they're beautiful though. You look at a Luna moth, they're creations of God.
J'aime bien que tu parles français quelques jours, but not today. Good to see you.
Are we done?
We are done.
Oh,
as always, that it runs. Susan, anything else on your standpoint? Caleb, everything cool on your end? We have to limit
yes.
communication.
My wife is terrified of moths. Also,
Wife is terrified
I have
of
no
moths?
idea. We can't figure it out.
Wife.
Yeah, and she's terrified of moths.
They're
They
pretty
don't
weird.
bite. They don't do
I'm a
anything.
little sympathetic to it. They're kind of
they're beautiful. They're innocuous. They're harmless, but they're weird.
You know what it is?
Like
I bet
butterflies.
you it's the hairy bodies, the hair,
and the dust that they leave when they touch it.
Exactly. That's kind of weird.
Well, if we end it with one prediction, if this comes true, it'll look very smart. They're going to come after Elon after Pavel Durov, and I think they all know this.
Brazil?
Well, it depends. No, but at this point, it can be any government of the world. Just say you are complicit, participating in, not taking the proper measures, not responding adequately.
I don't understand how you can't look at Elon Musk as some sort of hero.
Between now and November, by the way,
he was
because
the hero of the left, now he's the hero of the right. Why can't we all get behind this guy? He's done some extraordinary things.
You want talking about believing absurdities and atrocities? The left are such a bunch of unprincipled hypocrites. They will no longer support green energy to spite Elon Musk. That's how much they care about the environment.
Right.
F Elon Musk, bankrupt him because of principles.
And what principle?
I say they have none.
The fact that he's sort of in the Trump world now, and that sort of.
Well, the fact that they've endorsed it's tribalistic partisan politics. The fact that they endorse their political rival down with the environment because of politics.
Well, I'm so glad I'm on your team, and I'll help
Drew,
with the
this has been
OCD as we
fantastic.
move along here. But
We're going to have an off-air discussion.
but good luck with your young son. I really applaud that. I think it's a great thing. And
it's been 4 days.
Hands.
We played a game of chess today, and he's actually gotten exponentially better at chess. Watch some movies.
All that energy is going to be used for good. I'm sure of it. Susan, anything on your front? I think you hear everybody else. We're all cool. So if you would mind, Caleb, throwing up the schedule again really quick, because I'm. Oh, yes. Thank you. The wellness kind of, you weren't in here, but I went quite a bit onto all these kits and setting this up and helping us use the studio. And thank you to
slightly offensive Elijah Schaefer.
Elijah, whose equipment I ruined with Coca-Cola, and I'm so appreciative. I was not just slightly offensive. I was not just offensive. I was slightly destructive. Moderately destructive.
Elijah didn't even make a boo noise. Like,
no, he showed up with another soundboard. Yeah.
Have a baby.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Any event, TWC kindly set us up with Ben Shapiro, and that's what brought me down here. And so it's been a nice week, and good to see you.
Amazing.
I mean, every time it's just always so fun, and we'll have to do a barbecue one of these days.
Absolutely.
And see your young man and I'll play chess with him as he grows into his intellectual self at the age of 9. You probably have him back at school.
Mixing his food. Cannonball in the beanbag.
Young Frankenstein. You're going to watch him. And if I get my camera back, where am I here in the front? No? There we are. Thank you all for being here. We will see you. We will be on Tuesday. Caleb, tell me who the guest is on Tuesday.
We don't have Mike Walsh.
I know that's not Tuesday. Tuesday, I think it is. Help me with this.
Ivor Cummins is coming back to finish.
Ivor Cummins is coming back. We had lightning strike at Caleb's house, which took us off the air, and he was about to tell me he was predicting some terrible things in England, and we're going to review that. But he was doing it with a smile, and my question was, how do you maintain such a positive attitude? He's very optimistic. I don't know how. He's going to tell me how. See you Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Thanks, everybody. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800 888-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.